It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Smooth and Savvy is joined by some of the hottest talent in the entertainment industry, from musicians to authors and all those in between. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Mr. Smooth and Savvy himself, Douglas Coleman.
Howdy-howdy-o, hey-hey-hey-hee-hee-ha. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. Nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Jason Matthewson is here today. Jason is an actor who was born in Ireland and now I think splits his time between London and Los Angeles. He has done numerous films and television shows. His more recent credits include Hunter Killer, The Mummy, The Dark Return of Time, Jason Bourne. Also for television, he has been on Private Detectives, The Royals, Glue, Execution, and Crime Watch. Jason will be up with us in a few minutes, but first, before we get to Jason, we've got 2 songs from MusicX-Ray submissions. Thank you again for everybody who has been submitting on MusicX-Ray. We're getting lots and lots of great music that I'm very happy to play. The first one is When You're Here by Frank Falgares. I think that's how you pronounce it. F-A-L-G-A-R-E-S. The second song is I Don't Know Why, But I Know I Do by Mama J. So, not a lot of time to talk today, full interview and the songs. So, music first, then to the interview with Jason Matthewson.
When the world is crumbling down and walls are closing in on me, I got you to pull me out, let me in and make it feel alright. When the tide is rushing in and I drown in misery, I got you to lift me up, give me air and let me breathe. When you're here, I feel a difference every day and now you're here. And my world just seems so empty without you. Because you mean so much in everything I do. And I know it's so much better when you're here. When the world is crumbling down and walls are closing in on me, I got you to pull me out, let me in and make it feel alright. When the tide is rushing in and I drown in misery, I got you to lift me up, give me air and let me breathe. So I search to avoid the complicates these times, and I hear the beating of a lonely heart. Such solitary can bring me to my knees, but I climb out from the darkness when you're here. When the world is crumbling down and walls are closing in on me, I got you to pull me out, let me in and make it feel alright. When the tide is rushing in and I drown in misery, I got you to lift me up, give me air and let
saint loves Jesus. Love you with my third eye. Only wanna give you a places. I'm falling in love and I don't know why. It's above. I'm feeling the fire for you. Feeling love for you, baby. I don't know why, but I know I do. I don't know why, but I know I love you like there's no tomorrow. Love you like we've run out of time. Love you more than godly sorrow. I'm falling in love and I don't know why. It's above. I'm feeling the fire for you. Feeling love for you, baby. I don't know why, but I know I do. I don't know why, but I know I do. But I do. I don't know why, but I do. But I do. I love you, baby. I don't know why, but I do. But I do. But I do. Baby, don't you know it? But I do. I don't know why, but I love you so. I don't know why, baby, baby. Feeling love for you, baby. Sings above. Sings above. I'm feeling the fire for you. Feeling the fire for you, baby. For you, baby. I don't know why, but I know I do. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I know I do. Ooh, yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I know I do. Baby, yes I do. Love you, baby. Need you, baby. I don't know why, but I do. But I do. I don't know why, but I know I do.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on The Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps from the UK, record producer, engineer. You might have heard of me. I've worked with artists from Elton John to Led Zeppelin to Bad Company, Twisted Sister, Robbie Williams, Oasis, many great bands and artists in the past and the present and hopefully in the future. But you can work with me as well. You know, all you got to do is get in touch with me on epsmusicproductions.com. That's eppsproductionsmusic.com. And I can help you with your productions and with your recordings. A lot of people do home recordings now, which you can only take so far. Maybe they need a bit of professional help. So get in touch with me and we can sort it out. And thanks for Douglas Coleman for giving me the spot. Thanks a lot. Cheers, bye.
And now,
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! No doubt about it. I gotta get another hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome my guest, Jason Matthewson. Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Douglas. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. You are an actor, according to your bio.
My sins, yeah. yeah, I am, yeah. Been doing it for a little while now, so yeah.
Now, on your bio, it says that you're an Irish American. Are you Irish or American or both?
Well, I was born in Ireland, so I'm fully Irish, but I spent a lot of time in the States. I sort of grew up there, in California. So that's why maybe I sound a little the way I do. I don't sound fully Irish, I don't think. So yeah, I'm quite Americanized in my accent, I think. But yeah, so I was born in Ireland, but I spent a lot of time in the States.
Do you have dual citizenship?
No, I have visa work papers to work as an actor in the States. So yeah, I'm actually going to be upgrading that now to the citizenship over the next, I guess, probably year or so, or however long it takes for that process to go through.
I have no idea, but I know that it's probably a while. I know that anything dealing with the government.
No, it takes a little while. It's lots of paperwork, and you gotta meet all the criteria and so forth, and get lawyers and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's a bit of a headache, but it's something that's got to be done. So I'll just pay the lawyer to do all that, and I'll tick the right boxes wherever she asks.
Are you working more in LA or in the UK now?
To be honest, for the last little while, it's been in the UK. I mean, I'm based over here now primarily all the time. I mean, I go back and forth, but my base, I would say, for the last little while has been in London. But oddly enough, because of the tax incentives, you were getting actually a lot of American productions coming over here. So big movies and television shows and network shows and so forth. They're coming to London and actually specifically to Ireland, to Belfast in Northern Ireland. So they're shooting a lot of stuff here, and it's big American productions. So I get used quite a lot because of the accent and the ability to be able to do it. And so I'm here in London, but shooting American productions just here in London or in Ireland or wherever the case may be, somewhere in the UK.
Can you switch your accent on and off?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I definitely spend quite a while working on accents for different characters. And I like to do that. I think it's quite a good key to bringing you into the character. But for the last little while, it's been sort of like generally like kind of what I sound like at the moment is how I've been voicing some of the characters I've been doing for the last little while. But yeah, no, accents is a good thing, and over here obviously there's so many with the with British, RP and Cockney and Northern and so forth. So there's lots of different ones. So yeah, they're cool. It's an enjoyable thing to do as a process to getting into a character.
Well, a couple of the actors that I like, who I know have the ability to sound very American or they can sound British, is Liam Neeson is one, and Ben Whishaw.
Oh yeah. Ben's great. I mean, Liam is sort of like Sean Connery in a way that he's sort of made his own accent. I mean, he doesn't sound fully American. He doesn't sound fully Irish. He's Liam Neeson. He's created this mid-Atlantic type thing, same as Sean Connery. Sean Connery is Sean Connery in every movie. It doesn't matter if he's American, British, Russian, French. He's Sean Connery.
True enough, yeah.
And yeah, Liam's sort of the same. With not all of the time, obviously. If he's got to be British, then that's a different thing. But when he does his American movies, and he's created this mid-Atlantic accent for himself. So yeah, that works really well for him.
He was the voice in Narnia, wasn't he? Of the lion?
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
He was indeed, yeah. He's just recently done another movie. It's coming out around now, actually. Maybe been out last week, where he's voicing another character. In fact, he's the voice of the tree in the movie. But he's one of these actors. He's got a real good command with his voice, you know, and his voice is quite deep as well. So when he wants to sound bad and menacing, I think he can do that really well. So yeah, he's definitely done a lot of voiceover work. I would need to look up to see what he has done, but I know he's definitely done, as you say, the Narnia movie, and he's just done this new movie as well. I think it's called Tree on the Hill or something to that effect. So yeah, looks really good too.
I think he's a great actor. I've enjoyed his films. I like the Taken ones that he did, where he played that real badass. Mm-hmm. I enjoy those kind of movies. Well, let's talk about you. Since we were just talking about other actors, let's talk about you a bit. Give us a quick background on yourself, just so people know kind of where you came from. You were born in Ireland. And how long did you stay in Ireland before you came to the United States?
I done the whole high school thing in Ireland, so I got to probably my late teens, and then that's it. At that point, I sort of thought to myself, because I'm from Donegal, which is in the northwest of Ireland. It's quite rural. So I thought to myself, I want to do this as a career. So the sort of the progression is you move to Dublin, you make some waves down there, then you'll move over to London and try and do the same there, and eventually you'll get to LA or New York or something. I decided to not do that and instead just dive in at the deep end and went straight to LA. One-way ticket, nowhere to stay. Arrived at Burbank Airport in North Hollywood, wanting to go to Hollywood, not having any clue how big Hollywood was, assuming that North must be pretty close, and was nowhere near it. It was like 45-minute train ride. When I went to the hotel the next morning, so we literally arrived with a bag and nowhere to stay, nothing. Went to find the first hotel I could. Went to the reception the following morning and asked the guy how long would it take to walk to the Hollywood Boulevard, so Central Hollywood, which I now know, I didn't at the time. The stars, the Walk of Fame and all that. And he laughed at me. He said it was going to take you like 45 minutes in a train or a car to start with, and then you could possibly walk it maybe 10 minutes away. It was definitely a big learning curve, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I love LA. I think it's one of those sort of love it or hate it cities, and personally I love it. The California sunshine is also it's not too bad. Trump's over here for sure. It's so cold over here at the moment.
They must have laughed at you because nobody walks in LA. You don't walk anywhere in LA.
That's the thing about LA. It's a catch-22. You don't walk anywhere or you don't get anywhere. So if you drive, everyone drives and you don't get anywhere because you're stuck on the 5 or the 10 freeway.
Right. Well, that's true enough,
in a traffic jam. So you don't get anywhere no matter what you do.
So you just showed up at Burbank Airport literally with just a bag and no contacts, no agent, no anything? You just said, I'm here,
nothing.
I'm going to be an actor?
I got a couple of people that I knew that, may be of some assistance or some help. But no, as far as agents and managers and all that kind of stuff, no, none of that. So I went over, and I mean, I got quite lucky in a sense. I know this guy over there. He's a guy called Kyle Fitzharris. He's a published author. So Kyle and I are really good buddies, and he put me in contact with a guy called Pat Stack, who has a production office out of Sony Studios, which is Columbia Pictures. And I ended up going down there and meeting Pat and getting my staff pass to be on the lot. And that's really the reason I took the job, because it was essentially pretty much like, it was an intern job, temping job in his office. But by being a member of staff at the studio, you have permission to go on to what's known as the back lot, where they actually make the movies. The front lot, some of the studios have them, and it's generally just offices or like Universal, for example. They've got the whole tourist things, so the tourists can go on the ride around the different movie sets and so forth. But the back lot is where where they actually make the movie. So that's what I wanted access to be able to hopefully meet casting directors, agents, directors, movie makers, etc. I was lucky enough in that sense, and though both those guys, then they're awesome, and they've really helped out a lot, getting set up and really finding my way in a massive, crazy, competitive city. So they were really, really helpful, and I can't thank them enough for it.
That's a hell of a way to go in. You just dove right into the deep end, didn't you? I got to I got to give you a round of applause for your confidence for doing that.
Well, I mean, the way I looked at it was, what can go wrong? Essentially, obviously there's lots can go wrong, but give it a go. If it works, awesome. And if it doesn't, then come back to London and do that. Do the route in reverse, essentially, and keep work hard and try and make contacts. And thankfully, it has worked out, and I'm able to travel back and forth now, and I work in London, and it's worked out well. But yeah, it was a huge learning curve, and I can only imagine how ridiculous it must have seemed to the people who I went and had meetings with, from their perspective. Now looking back, but as I said, it was a massive learning curve, and one I wouldn't take back, because I did learn so much so very, very quickly, because I had to. So it was either pick it up and understand it, or it's going to pass you by.
Well, how old were you when you did that?
I reckon I was probably 21, 22 maybe.
And how old are
21.
You now?
Yeah, I'm 30 now.
So it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, 10 years.
No, it wasn't. About 10 years ago, yeah.
All right, so what was the first actual gig that you got? Did you get it through that diving into the deep end method?
Well, I've gotten lots of stuff through my contacts, but oddly enough, actually, I got cast in a movie which I had to go back to Ireland to make, called Black Ice. So it was my first big picture, I guess you'd call it. So I went back to make that, and then my agent here at the time got me a job in the UK. So it got me a project here in London, and so I thought, my intention was to go back, make the movie in Ireland, and go straight back to LA. But then I got this movie in London, and then it started being sort of steadily coming in for the last while through the London reps I have. So yeah, I went to Italy there about a year and a half ago, made a movie over there which is going to come out this year called 21 Files. So yeah, my base is over here at the moment. I fly back and forth sometimes to the States, and all around Europe and the UK and so forth.
Is there any difference between a film production in London and a film production in Hollywood in terms of the environment?
I guess a little bit. I think generally, especially if it's a studio picture, then you have, 80, 90, $200 million, and then you've got like massive productions. So there's just more. There just seems to be more of everything. But yeah, there is definitely a slight difference in the way it works. Hollywood's been making movies, and it is the mecca for film and television, and other parts of the world also do it. But I guess Hollywood was probably the first, or certainly the first to make big pictures in a big way all the time. So it's a well-oiled machine in Hollywood. Even the smaller pictures. And here it's also great as well. Some of the crew over here in London and Ireland are among the best in the world. So there's a little difference, I guess, in the American pictures and the stuff over here. But you find, like I said earlier, that a lot of big American productions are coming here now because it's so much cheaper to shoot here. And with the exception of the California sunshine, you can pretty much get every landscape that you need here. So if you want the big buildings in the cities and the skyscrapers and so forth, then just come to London, or 35, 40 minutes west, then you've got rolling hills and marshes and all that kind of stuff, and Wales, of course. Then there's the lakes and the rivers, and there's the beaches and so forth. So yeah, I mean, they have every landscape they need here, with the exception of the sunshine. Generally, there's a lot of them coming here to make their pictures here, and TV as well, and the networks. In fact, it's getting so busy that some of the networks, like HBO and Showtime and CBS, NBC, and so forth, actually have offices now within some of the studios over here, because they're doing so much here.
Now, you've worked with quite a few actors. I'm looking at your sheet. You've been in a lot of different movies. Who were some of your favorite people to work with?
Well, recently I done a movie called Hunter Killer with Gary Oldman and Jared Butler and a few others, which was amazing. I mean, I'm such a massive fan of both those guys, but especially of Gary for many years, and I've seen a lot of his movies, and to watch him work and to see it in front of you rather than through a screen, and watch his process was amazing. Jerry Butler is one of the funniest guys I think I've ever met. He's such a nice guy, and that's definitely one of the biggest things that I took from that in relevance to Jerry. I mean, there really was no Hollywood BS with him at all. It's just, he's just a guy who happens to be a movie star, not the other way around. And he's a really, really nice guy. So yeah, I really enjoy working with those guys. I mean, Robert Zemeckis, I done a picture with him called Allied with Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard and Jared Harris and a few others. So it was incredible to watch somebody who's got so many iconic movies. I mean, Rob Zemeckis has directed, Forrest Gump and Castaway and all the Back to the Future movies and
Right, yeah.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He's done so many great movies, so many iconic classics. So to watch him work as well was amazing. And obviously Brad's fantastic. Marion's fantastic. Jared Harris, lovely, really, he's great, and he's really, really lovely guy. We just spent most of the time talking about the cricket, actually, because it was the cricket competition over here was going on in or around the time we were shooting that movie. So we spent most of the time talking about the sports.
I don't understand cricket at all. I really don't.
Nor do I, to be honest. If I be really honest. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I think it's kind of like baseball, in the way that it seems pretty straightforward. You hit a ball with a bat. But if you know if you know the game, and there's so many little things and how they, different little tricks that you really need to know the game to be able to watch the players do the little things they do that does go over most people's heads. And
Some of the terminology. Okay, for example, what's a googly?
not a clue. Google spelled wrong.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But it's something in reference to cricket. I don't know if it's a type of hit or if it's a type of score you get. Like in tennis, they say love 30.
Yeah. I
something like that. I don't know.
Quite honest, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, my knowledge of cricket is they're hitting a ball with a bat and they try and knock down a little stick. That's about it.
Well, okay.
And then obviously there's much more to it than that, but I'm not someone who understands.
Well, the little sticks are called wickets, right?
Wickets, yes.
Wickets,
Yes, that's definitely true. That one I know.
Well, anyways, maybe I'll look it up sometime and see what a googly is. I just thought it was a particularly funny sounding word. And
it is a funny word, it is.
You had mentioned Gary Oldman. I'm a big fan of his as well. He's a great, diverse actor. The movie I just saw with him not too long ago I watched was True Romance.
Oh,
Did you see that one?
Yeah, it's quite old, that one.
It is quite old, but I kind of dug it up and was watching. And he plays that sort of crazy drug dealer character with one eye.
Isn't that the one with the late Dennis Hopper and Christian Slater?
Yes.
Christopher, what's his name?
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken, yeah. That is a great movie, especially the scene in the trailer near the end. Really great. Really great movie.
Quite a few people in that. Now the girl, her name Arquette.
Patricia Arquette.
Yes, yeah. That was a real good movie. And Brad Pitt was in that as well. He played a very minor role in that. He played the stoned
wow.
roommate of the friend that they went to visit in California. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he was like the stoner guy laying on
the couch when the mafia
sofa.
walked in.
On the couch, yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. he was. That's right. I forgot that. Yeah, no, Gary's fantastic, and to watch, I've seen a lot of his movies, and to watch it on the screen and see such a fantastic performance is one thing, but to be able to like stand a couple of feet away from him and watch him do it without all the filters and the movie magic, as they say, was incredible to watch that. And to be able to see, I would think that he's considered one of the best. So to watch that level of quality being performed in front of you, and to see what it takes to deliver that was incredible to watch.
He also played Sid Vicious in
he did indeed.
Sid and Nancy. Yeah, that was a great movie as well. That was a long time ago, though. He was a young man in that one.
Yeah, that was back when he done. Was it Leon, the French movie? Yeah, I think it was Leon. It was called. It was one of his first movies, I think. But again, he plays the crazy guy, and he's crazy, but he's great. He's great.
I always ask this question of actors when I get them on because I'm curious. I get different answers.
Sure.
What do you think makes a great actor? What ingredient makes a great actor? Or ingredients?
The ability to listen.
That
I think if you really boil it right back down, and if you want to put like a fine point on what I think acting is, it's listening. It's not reacting. Well, it is reacting, obviously, but it's primarily listening. And then it's reacting and speaking and doing so forth. But it's the ability to listen, I think. And there's a few of the greats. De Niro is fantastic at it. When you watch him, you can almost see the cogs in his brain moving around, and you can watch him just listening to whatever's going on. Because obviously, he's aware of what's going to be said to him, but to be able to know that inside out and have rehearsed it for X length of time, but then still be able to hear it for the first time when whoever delivers it to you, that I think is what the nuts and bolts of acting is, and it's hard to achieve all of the time, and I think Gary can do that really well, and De Niro and Pacino and a few others.
De Niro is one of those actors that is basically himself in any movie he's done. He's not a character actor per se, because he's always De Niro. No matter what movie I watch, it could be Godfather, it could be Goodfellas, it could be Taxi Driver. Any of the movies he's done, he's just him. Deer Hunter was another one.
Yeah. I think with De Niro, because he's a lot of his movies, especially his earlier stuff, he was the gangster, you know what I mean? He was that guy, the New York gangster, or the whatever gangster. And he done a lot of movies, and very well as well. And of course he worked with like Marty Scorsese, and they had like their little unit, if you like, and made some fantastic pictures along the way. So I think he's sort of personified or rather should you say, he's like embodied that character, that guy, the gangster. So when people think of gangster movies, that your brain straight away goes to De Niro or Pacino or a very few of the others, because he's mainly done, a lot of them gangster movies. So, I don't personally know Bob, so I've never met the guy, but I would assume he's playing a character, but just because he's played that character so many times, you assume that that's him being him.
Well, okay, true enough.
Then again,
but even in the film like Meet the Parents, which was a comedy, he still was. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't a big stretch between Goodfellas and Meet the Parents in terms of his personality. He's just such a strong person that he's always the same guy. Where if you took somebody like Johnny Depp, he's almost unrecognizable from picture to picture.
Yeah, I agree with you. Johnny's amazing at what he does, and there's when you're talking about transformations, like major transformations, like Johnny's done, there's not a lot of actors that do that I mean, Christian Bale does it quite often. But I mean, that's a whole different level of dedication, a whole different level of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know, it takes a lot to transform yourself in them crazy ways. But I mean, it works for the movies, and obviously we've seen these guys do that many times, and it really works, I think. But yeah, I mean, Johnny's great at that, and Christian also. A few others as well, but no, I know what you mean. What you're saying with De Niro, he's sort of De Niro, and
he's De Niro no matter what he
variations
does.
Of De Niro.
Yeah, there's another one like that too. Is Keanu Reeves? He seems to be Keanu.
That's a whole different conversation right there. I would never put Keanu Reeves and Bobby De Niro in the same.
Well, no, I'm not comparing them as saying that they're equal as far as actors. What I'm saying is that in terms of Keanu Reeves is always sort of that constant person like De Niro is. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, there's so many of them like that. Tom Cruise as well. I mean, Brad Pitt as well. He's quite similar in his movies. You know, but like there's a huge. Obviously, I've just mentioned some of the biggest movie stars of all time. So there's definitely a career to be had in that. The ones who really transform and are different in everything, I think that's actually quite a rarity. I mean, most people, you just play variations of yourself. Especially until you get to you're probably your mid-30s or 40s. At that point, you can start to develop characters. But when you're younger, then I think you just play variations of yourself for quite a while.
Just going back to Keanu for a second, I have spoke with other people who don't think he's a great actor at all. And personally, I think he is sort of, it's hard to explain. I like him. I think he suits the roles that he plays. But I don't think he's got a lot of depth as an actor.
No, I mean, I don't think he's the most talented actor in the world, to be polite about it. But I quite like him as a person. And I think it suits what he does. It suits the movies that he does. You know, he plays what he does in the movies. I think it suits. But then again, you know, he's been a movie star for a long time, and he's a very good looking guy, and you know, he's got the whole poster child Hollywood guy thing going on. You know, and also he started off by being in a movie and maybe not being the best actor on the planet, but being in a movie straight from the get-go that turned into a mega hit.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in The Matrix. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, he can be quite a little stiff sometimes and a little lacking in depth, as you said. But for Neo in The Matrix, that actually suited. That actually worked for that movie.
Yes.
Because he was almost like a cyborg, the character, I mean.
Right.
So that actually kind of worked. Some of his other stuff, maybe not so much, but he's been in a lot of stuff that's went on to like solidify him as a movie star. And you know, if he's a bankable name, which he is, then he obviously, because he's doing it, he can continue to do what he does. But I mean, I don't know the guy. I've never met him. But I believe from hearing stories and so forth that he's actually, I mean, I really like the guy as a man. I mean, he's, as a person, he's a really good guy. I mean, I heard a story that he gave away something like 80% of his profit from the Matrix movies to, I believe it was leukemia or something. His mom passed from, I believe, leukemia or possibly some variation of cancer, and he gave like a lot of millions to the leukemia hospital or whatever in I think New York or wherever it is he lives. And he doesn't. I know, like, I mean, I'm sure maybe you've seen him. He rides a subway in New York. He, he lives in a regular house. He doesn't live the big, movie star Hollywood lifestyle. He's just a regular guy and a nice one at that. Much respect for him for that.
Yeah, I've heard he's incredibly generous. One of the stories that I read was that I think it was The Matrix, or it might have been Speed. but he bought like the main crew, like 12 or 15 guys on the crew. He bought them all new Harley Davidson motorbikes, and just had them brought to the set one day and said, here you go. Thanks for all your work on this film. So that's pretty
incredible.
Cool.
Wow. That's incredible. I do believe he, again, from different stories. I hadn't heard that story now, but that's awesome. But that would definitely lend itself to the other stories that I've heard and read and so forth. That he is a very, very generous guy. And oh my God, my heart goes out to him. I don't know if you know his story, but he has had a tough time of it, with members of his family and his partners and so forth. He's had a tough run. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for the guy.
You always wanted to be an actor, it sounds like. I was going to ask you the question of, if you didn't become an actor, what would you have done? But it sounds like you never had a doubt as to where you were going to go in your life. So I don't know if that question would be worth asking or not.
No, I mean, it is definitely something I always wanted to do, and I've been doing it for a long time. Even back home in Ireland, I'd done it, the regular amateur plays and school stuff and so forth. So I've been doing it for a long time before I ever moved into the professional realm. So yeah, it's definitely something I want to do. What would I have done otherwise? Who knows? Let's hope I'll never have to answer that question.
Well, Ringo Starr said he wanted to be a hairdresser if the Beatles hadn't taken off. So who knows? Huh?
Maybe something in radio. I mean, I've done some radio actually as a presenter on different shows, different stations over the years, and I really enjoy that. So I think maybe possibly something in radio. Possibly, I'm not quite sure, but I've never really put much thought into it, to be honest. It takes so much time and effort to try and to do what I am doing, so I haven't got too much time to be thinking on a different career path.
I would have objected to you being on radio just because, looking at your pictures, you're a very handsome guy, and there's no reason for you to be on radio. You should be on film, okay? For somebody like me, I've got the perfect radio body and the perfect radio face.
But you got the voice as well, and that's the key.
Well, that's good. I've got the voice, but the rest of it, nobody wants to see that. So for me, it's just, I'm perfect for radio, but for you, I think you're too handsome to be just heard,
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. But no, I don't know. Oddly enough, I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, I know when you're sitting in a studio and you may have a couple of producers there, and you know this more than most, but there's no one there. You're talking to an audience that's not with you, but somehow they are, and it's really enjoyable. I don't know what it is, but I really enjoyed that. Got a real kick from it.
Well, it's a delayed reaction. Your feedback comes like making a film or making a pre-recorded television show. You don't hear how well you did until days or weeks later when the show goes out and people send you emails or put comments on your website or something like that. It's it's different than doing a live theater show where the response is immediate from the audience.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And when you're doing a radio show, you're just sitting in a room with a microphone, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, you're absolutely right. And with making movies and pre-recorded television or whatever it is, like you say, you don't ever get to have a look at it until sometime. Well, if it's filmed, usually like a year later. So it's you almost forget about it, and then they send you an email and go, here, there's come see the movie or come to the screen, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot I made that. So yeah, it takes a little while.
What kind of roles have you played? I'm looking at your list here, and you've been a support in many, you've been a lead in a bunch. Are you typecast, or have you done a diverse body of work?
I try to have the next role as different from the last one as possible. But no, I wouldn't say I'm typecast. I try and keep it diverse in what I do. But the roles that really interest me are the darker roles. And any actor will tell you that the bad guy that's the one that you want to be. The bad guy is always the interesting guy. The good guy is kind of boring. I've played plenty good guys and plenty like boyfriend types and, guy next door types and so forth. The darker roles are definitely more interesting to me. They usually require more work and they're a little more challenging. But in that, when you do deliver, and hopefully well, then it's you get more back from it, I guess.
So what's the darkest role you've done?
Darkest role I've done. I done a movie called Angel a couple years back, in which I play a character who essentially is in the sex trafficking industry. He's trafficking human beings. Wasn't the nicest of guys. It was incredible. I mean, now that's obviously a thing that goes on in the world, and it's awful. But for a character, he was incredible to play. Horrible, deplorable human being, but awesome character.
So you were the sex trafficker.
Yeah. And in the movie, I was.
Oh yes, in the movie. I
wasn't
suggesting you did that on the side.
No. No, definitely. That's definitely not a hobby.
So, is there any role that you haven't played yet that you would like to play? Is there one that you particularly want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I with Hunter Killer, because it's a submarine movie. That was, for some reason, I don't know why. I always wanted to play movies, and when I see a movie coming out that's either set in an airplane or in a boat or in a submarine or some sort of a thing like that, some mode of transport, I don't know why, I really enjoy those, especially like the airplane movies. If something happens on the airplane and they have to sort it out before they crash or land it or so forth. I really enjoy those type of movies. I don't know why. They're usually good fun. So I'd love to do something like that. But I sort of got one of my bucket lists, I guess you'd say, ticked off with the submarine thing with Hunter Killer recently. But also, I would love to do something in the comic book world. So a superhero of some type, or something from the comic book world. And also, something from the world of fantasy, like real, like Game of Thrones or The Hobbit or, Lord of the Rings type, or something in that world, or in the comic book world. I would love to do something in either of those.
Well, I think you could probably do Superman.
Superman, he's my favorite of all the superheroes. So, I mean, to get to play Superman will be incredible. But Henry Cavill, however you say his name, he's kind of killing it at the moment. So, if you ever see him and he feels like stepping aside, give me a call.
I don't remember the last Superman movie. I'm going to be dating myself, but the last Superman movie I remember was with Chris Reeves.
Oh, okay. There's been a few since. I mean, Chris Reeves obviously did, I don't know, 3 or 4 maybe, back 25 years ago, whatever it was. Then Brandon Roth played him in a revamp which came out about 5 or so years ago, with Kevin Spacey and so others. That one wasn't terribly well received, unfortunately. I thought it was an alright movie, but wasn't well received. And then they revamped the whole franchise again there about, I guess, 3 movies ago now, so maybe 3 or 4. And the British actor Henry Cavill, or Caviezel, I'm not quite sure how you say his name. He plays Superman, and Jesse Eisenberg was in the last one where they done the Superman versus Batman. So they had Ben Affleck playing Batman in the movie fighting Superman, with Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor.
There's been a million Batmans. I lost track of how many Batmans there were. But I think the one I liked was Christian Bale. I think he was probably the best one for me.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, normally with you tend to go to the original. Like Chris Reeves is probably, I really enjoy the recent Superman movies, but it's like, who's your favorite James Bond? Most people will go back to Connery.
Right.
Most people would go to Chris Reeves for the Superman thing. Now, with Batman, there's been some really good Batmans across over the years, and some maybe not so great ones. I really love Michael Keaton. So,
okay.
But then, I don't know why. I thought he really suited the billionaire type, kind of philanthropist type. But then Chris Nolan, the the genius that is Chris Nolan came along and put Christian Bale into it, and Tom Hardy, and and the late Heath Ledger as well, who was incredible as the Joker. I actually got an Oscar, and that's the first time ever in the history of the Academy that they've awarded an Oscar to an actor that's been in those type of movies, the popcorn, the comic book stuff. It's the first time ever, and obviously, very sadly, Heath passed on back around the point where the movie came out, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed those, and that sort of goes back into what I was saying earlier, which was because with Nolan's Batmans, he really took the bar, and he made it really dark. It was really dark, but I love that. And I think that's what most people love about his run at them. Because they were so well received, and I think most people consider them to be the best of, Christian Bale's Batman is the best. I think a lot of people, I think, would agree with that. But it's because it was so dark as well. And I think that's it was a breath of fresh air for that franchise, because they didn't ever bring it as dark before. They kept it quite mainstream. And Nolan, of course, flipped the script on it, made a great job.
Interesting about Batman that it's been interpreted so many different ways. Go back to the 1960s television Batman with Adam West.
The original Batman.
Yeah.
Adam West.
And, it was so campy, it was almost funny.
Yeah. It's hilarious how far it's come. I quite enjoy Adam West, but for different reasons. I think it's hilarious. It's almost like a spoof comedy.
Right, yeah.
But it's crazy how far it's gone. Adam West was knocking around a Lycra suit that they probably picked up in CVS or something, whereas the Batman suit now takes designers a year and a half and costs like $1 million, and it's crazy how far it's come along. But yeah, it was definitely a lot simpler back in Adam West's time. But again, the original. So I don't think in this instance that people would go back to the original being the best in this analogy.
I wanted to ask you one question about, on your sheet down at the bottom, it lists film, television, theater, commercial, training, and skills. And under skills, you've got horseback riding, combat, soccer, running, cycling, swimming, deep sea diving. The one that caught my eye was full clean driving license. Now, I thought
over
that
here
was
in the UK they have a skills section on your resume, and they want to know that if you've ever seen anything on television where a person is in a car, if you sit into the car, it doesn't even matter if the engine's not running, you need to have a driving license to do so. It's just the way the rules of making TV and movies. To advertise alcohol, you have to be over 25 years old to be in the commercial, even though here you only have to be 18 to drink it, but you got to be over 25 years old to be in a commercial. Again, it's a one of the rules. I don't quite understand it. It doesn't make much sense to me, but it's one of the rules nonetheless. So that car license thing is it comes in handy whenever there's anything to do with cars, whether it be in a commercial or a movie or TV show or anything like that. It'll be a requirement if there's a car in the show.
Oh, well, that would be a damn shame if you got cast for a part and it turned out you couldn't do it because you had some infraction on your driving license.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
You have to have a license. They would prefer that it has no, nothing on it. But, as long as it's like a parking fine or, speeding ticket or something, that's fine. But, nothing like crazy accidents or whatever. But I'm all good. Thankfully, that's never happened. So yeah, it's all good.
Well, listen, we are kind of running out of time here. I did want to ask you what you are working on currently.
Sure. I'm actually just about to do a movie called Pegasus Bridge with my writing partner, business partner, Lance Nielsen. He's going to direct that. So we're going to shoot that in July, I believe, in Normandy in France. And it's sort of the story of the D-Day landings. And I didn't know this until recently, but everything that happened subsequent to D-Day was codenamed Pegasus by the Brits and the French. So yeah, that's where the name comes from. And there is actually a bridge over there called Pegasus Bridge. So we're going to do a movie on that. And Lance and I are also working on he wrote a play back in like 97 and staged it here in London in 99 and again in 2001. It was really well received, and we're now adapting that to series at the moment. It's called Sticks and Stones. So we're right at the early stages of that. We've just completed the pilot script and the first 2 episodes. So we're just finishing off writing season arcs and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to bring it to the networks. And so that's something is what we're working on as well. And I've got a couple other projects as well. I'm doing something very different, actually, like a crime comedy now in the end of February. These four immigrant guys come over from all over Europe to London, and long story short, they try and rob a bank, and it goes awry and hilarity ensues. So it's really, really funny, and it's something I've never done. I've never done a comedy before. Well, maybe, but definitely not one this type. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be good fun, and they're always fun to work on as well. I mean, you know, it's going to be a fun set because obviously they're making a comedy, so you know you don't want people to be super serious because that's not funny. They're good fun to make those. So that's a couple of things that's going on at the moment, and got a couple other projects in the pipeline, and a few other things that we're negotiating and working out and so on. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at the moment.
Your website is jasonmatthewson.com. People can come there and have a look at you and see what you're doing, see what projects
Absolutely.
you've worked on. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
No problem at all. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Definitely, I'd love to come back on and talk to you anytime at all.
Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my special guest, Jason Matthewson, and thank you to Frank Falgares and Mama J for the music. This is Douglas Coleman saying goodbye.
To the